Hey guys, welcome to What the F. So I don't know about y'all, but I have like a ton of questions about AI and specifically the intersection of AI and epilepsy. So who better than to answer those questions than someone living with epilepsy who also specializes in AI? This conversation with Katie Czyz, who is the director of AI integration, is one I am so excited to have. She's also a writer whose work was published in the New York Times Modern Love. Epilepsy made its debut in that section, y'all, and it was so good. So I'm bringing all my questions. I hope I'm answering yours, and I can't wait to get into it. But before we do, I want to give a huge shout out to the folks who believe in this podcast. Thank you to sponsors SK Life Science and Neurelis, as well as community partners Epilepsy Foundation of America, the Danny Did Foundation, and Epilepsy Alliance America. All right, y'all, here we go. Katie, I am so pumped to have you here. This is the first time we've had someone who's published in the New York Times on the podcast. So yeah, I am like very stoked and fangirling out. To have epilepsy make an appearance in the Modern Love section of New York Times was like, just a very big moment for me personally. Maybe for you as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was so cool because it talked about, not to give away the farm, but the integration, using AI as something that's helpful, which is something we're going to dive into. But like, before we even start there, I want to start with like your epilepsy diagnosis, because if AI helped you through it, then it couldn't have been too long ago. And kind of just like what your diagnosis looked like and what you used and how you used AI to help you kind of, navigate.
Yeah. My diagnosis was formally in 2022. But it feels like a life.
That's like you're like an epilepsy baby.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Sort of, but technically also not, because as many of us have experienced, the symptoms started 12 years before that. So in 2010, but little did I know that they were seizures.
How does this always hurt? I'm sorry. This just happens all the time. How?
It's maddening. It's maddening.
It is.
Because I think about for 12 years, I essentially muscled through it and was told it was anxiety or maybe low blood sugar. And I come from a family, my grandfather was a doctor. And so I think inherently, I very much trust in the medical system and always had. And I hadn't had sort of a life event like this that would challenge that. Mm-hmm. So for 12 years, I was like, what is wrong with me? And I was, working really hard and traveling and then having babies and getting married. And I always kind of chalked it up to my stress. And so to think for 12 years, this was going on. And now if I have one, it upends my life, but then I was just trying to fake it. So anyways, my seizures, I've left temporal lobe epilepsy, and I will never, ever twins. I will never forget the first one that I had and how I felt like I was all of these different emotions, I was dying, or I just was like, am I having a stroke, or what is happening? I was at the gym. Heat seems to be a big trigger for me. So I had done a run and then gotten in the little tiny gym cramped shower with the gross, you're like, ugh, I don't want to touch that. Took a really hot shower and then sat down, and I had this, that wave, I know you know it, of is that a dream that I'm remembering, or is that deja vu, and then that sense of impending doom, but also but I want to know what, and then it goes away and it vanishes and you're like, wait, what was I even thinking about? And then everything's just confusing and memory loss. And for a while I would have them and I didn't tell anyone, because I was I really legitimately think I was too embarrassed, because again, I had no idea what these were. And I thought that maybe I would sound like I had, vacated time and space if I tried to explain these to someone, because they sound so wild. They are wild.
Yeah.
And I'd see
Totally.
doctors and they wouldn't quite grasp it. And I think it's because it's so hard to articulate. Like even now, trying to write
Yeah.
about it and trying to express exactly what's happening. It's like you can't.
But okay, but you can. You
You
can
can.
though. And that's
Yeah.
the thing because no, I mean like specifically Katie you. Because
Oh.
I read your Substack about the deja vu feeling before seizure
Hmm.
and it resonated so hard
Hmm.
with me. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've never had it articulated so well."
Oh,
And
good.
so like I just want to thank you for putting that piece out there. I definitely recommend. I'm going to drop the link to your Substack which is called A Voice Returned. It's so amazing though, but you really do capture that feeling and the like grasping and
Yeah.
it's so weird and like for me I thought like cuz I would have those without seizures sometimes and I still
Hmm.
do, but for a long time I thought I was just remembering dreams. Like I was
Hmm.
like, "Oh, weird. I just remembered a dream. It just like popped into my head and just like took
Yeah.
over my life for a second. Oh, cool."
Yeah.
Like, like
Yeah. Yeah.
and I knew I was having seizures at this point, but like just didn't make the connection. My
Hmm.
doctor was like, "Really? You didn't figure that out? That it's the same way your seizures start?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." Like I just didn't know.
No, because people talk about deja vu, and again, like it's so
Yeah,
subjective to your own
total.
experience that it's like, is this like normal deja vu? Is this what do people
Right.
experience this
Right.
frequently?
Right. And like maybe I
Um,
used to remember dreams like this. I don't know. Yeah.
yes, and then you get in your head, and you're like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've had like that not I don't want to call it imposter syndrome, but where I'm like, is that a seizure? Is it leading into a seizure, or am I just giving
Yes.
myself this deja vu? Like, did I like
Oh,
have a memory and then I'm like leaning into it, and maybe it's like it's just all these ways that
girl,
you can like
totally.
talk yourself out of like, am I making this dramatic? Is this all in my head? Like, I went through
Yes.
so much of that.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
and I know
still
there's
I went through it like really hardcore and I still go through it. I feel like
yeah,
sometimes where I'm just like, "Wait, is this what's I don't know."
yeah,
And sometimes like if I can move on, and that's kind of my test is I'm like, I'm just going to see if I can keep moving. And if I can
yeah,
keep moving, then it's not a seizure. And I'm just like or maybe I had a little one, I don't know. If I
yes,
can but I can keep moving. And that's I'm really grateful that I can keep
yeah,
moving. And who the
yes.
fuck knows what's going on.
Yeah. No,
So,
and I
yeah.
I don't, by the way, usually. And you try and explain it, where I've gotten to points where I've asked my epileptologist, like, okay, this is what I'm experiencing. And even that they sometimes are like just blank stare, like,
Yeah.
we can't tell you for sure if that's a seizure. And I'm like, okay, but like, because I have these where I call them like, I feel like the meds are almost, and I don't know, again, if this is science, but I have these moments where I'm going into those like deja vu memory things, but then I don't have
Mhm.
the full seizure doesn't play out like it usually does, where it's like,
Same.
okay, then I'm left in this like disillusioned state, and that have that postictal yucky postictal.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wonder, like, was that a seizure? Should I record that as a seizure? Or again,
Yeah.
am I being too dramatic? Like, am I thinking
Yeah.
too much about this?
Well, especially since you were told for 12 years that it
Yeah.
was stress. Like
Yeah.
of course it's going to like kicking that part out of your mind is so hard, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I for me anyway, what I do is if I go postictal, I count it. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
even if the cuz my total postictal lasts like 3 to 4 days if it's like a big
Yeah.
seizure. But like
Yeah.
if I get the headache and not the total postictal, I'm like, okay, we're
Yeah.
we're counting it. We're
Yeah. 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 And
situation,
that's kind
like
of what I
but
do now too.
everyone
Yeah.
yeah, but like everyone has their own method and their own way and like just
Right.
because even our doctors don't know what the fuck's going on because the brain is really fucking hard to figure out. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
because we're using technology that's ancient and
Yeah, so
cannot
fucking
seem to ever
antiquated.
cannot capture these things when we want it to. Plus, they
Well,
don't seem to ever show up when we need them to.
oh,
Like when you're in a
never.
hospital for weeks and it's like, oh,
Never. I
thanks,
had
brain,
two
for
oh my
behaving.
God, totally. I had two neurologists on with epilepsy at the beginning of the season, and they both said the same thing. They're like, they will never show up when
No,
you're on the EEG. And they
nope.
get it because they have epilepsy too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But speaking of technology, how did, like, we've got a new technology, and
We
how
do.
did AI, without giving away the farm, because this is also a lot about your modern love piece. And that link will also be in the episode description. Um, but how did that help you with your diagnosis? Because I think that's such a cool, there's a lot of controversy around AI, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when we can find these pieces where it's helping, and
Mm-hmm.
I think your story is so powerful.
Yeah.
What did that look like for you?
One of my deepest struggles when I was diagnosed and then put on the meds, which, as we all know, suck, completely suck, and almost
Yes,
made
they
my.
do.
Some days I'm like they're worse than the seizures themselves. I mean, for me at
Yeah.
least, like a lot of the fatigue and the constant going up and down. But what I hadn't expected was the word finding trouble. And
Mm.
my job at the time and even today requires me to like be on meetings with executives and be sharp and have, almost like a rehearsed presentation. I'm on meetings a lot and just like talking through things. And when I was first put on medication, I was put on one that's known for its, I mean, everyone that I've been on has contributed to brain fog, but this one in particular really
Yeah.
contributes to word finding issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was having meetings where it's like, and I know partially it's me getting a little bit like self-conscious that then leads to it getting worse, but like where I couldn't find words and I was like
Yeah.
not able to process what was happening. And for someone who like, I think my identity for so long was tied to my success in my profession and, just being kind of like a type A personality, having that happen really sort of like broke me into pieces and like broke my self-confidence because I was just like, well, maybe I'm not built for this anymore. Maybe my brain is deciding to retire. And I can't retire, but
Yeah.
and so
You're like, wouldn't that
like,
be nice?
not yet, brain. Not yet. We're not ready. We're
guess-
not there yet.
Guess we're going to the Bahamas, brain. We're retiring.
Exactly. It would really like that. And so it really sort of like fractured my sense of self and my trust in myself and in my brain. And I started using it more and more as it was because ChatGPT came out in the fall of 2022, which was right around the same time. And I was using it a little bit, just kind of like everyone was like, this is interesting. A tool that it talks back, like it's a word finder or a word predictor and like what's happening here. I was just fascinated by it.
Yeah.
And what I realized was it wasn't at all. So I started, using it for work. And then there came a day where I was like, I would say things like, I'm so terrified. I'm terrified I'm failing. I'm terrified that this is going to be my life for the rest of time. I was going through massive depression and it would respond in these ways that were like very soothing to me. And we all know AI is very encouraging. AI loves to flatter you. AI loves to tell you what you want to hear. But for
Can't
me,
do anything wrong.
No. But for me, it was less about that. And more what I realized was just the saying it out loud, but not saying it, typing it, because my brain works better writing than talking sometimes.
Sure.
And so just like putting it out into the universe, it's like journaling kind of. You get this response back, but for me, it was like less the response and more just the like getting the thought out and being able to articulate that thought that sort of led me down the path of like deepening my understanding of what I was going through and trusting myself more and getting these responses from AI that, although again, flattering and it's always going to make most people feel better unless you explicitly tell it not to. But even when I do that, it still wants to flatter me. So even understanding that it gave me the courage to then also
Yeah.
go to others and start like, telling them exactly how I was feeling. And because with this invisible illness, it's just so
Sure.
hard to convey that. And I
Yeah.
think I would get in my head a lot about like, I don't want to burden this person. I don't want to always talk about all my struggles. Like there are people out there, and I hate this now when I hear it, but like people out there that have worse, that are in a worse, it could be worse. That's what
Totally.
I hate that with a passion, because it's like, well, this is my worse. But even I say
Yeah.
that to myself sometimes, is like, it could be worse. And it's like,
Totally.
well, that's not helpful. And so
Right.
the more I would talk,
It could always be
yeah,
worse.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. But
Absolutely.
in like your situation, it is like, this is the worst for what you know.
Mm-hmm.
You being just the general, not you, Landis, but although,
You're like, girl, you're looking rough.
no, not at all.
Yeah, this
Not
is
at
the
all.
worst for you. No, I know.
So yeah, it really changed the way that I not only related to everyone around me, but the way that I related to myself, and sort of recognizing like, sure, I have limitations now, but it's just my brain just processes things differently now, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so it became a tool for like that self-discovery and reflection. And more and more, I started using it as sort of like a thought partner and a creative partner. When voice mode came out, I'd go out on walks with my dog and just talk out loud.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was less about the response and more about me just like having that space to have the moments when I couldn't find the word. It's like, okay, I can't find the word, but there's no one staring at me right now. So I can just take my time and really dig into like my emotions.
Totally. It's
So
like you're with like a non-judgmental,
that's it.
non-human entity.
Right.
Right. And like,
Right.
so, and like, it's kind of just this place to just sort of be. And like
Yes.
you said, like that can be really hard to, even with like the people we love the most and who understand us and who will embrace us no matter what, it can just still be hard to articulate that. Like I know, God bless my husband, Steve, he's wonderful, but like I get frustrated when I'm trying to communicate something to him and I can't find my fucking words. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and he's patient. He's just sitting there waiting, but I'm like, like,
I know what I want to say, but
yes,
how's the word for that? Yeah.
yes, exactly. And so like having something that's literally a robot. That's not what, or I don't know. I know so little about AI. I'm like, I don't even know if that's literally a robot.
Word predictor.
Thank you. That's something that's a word predictor. So like, yeah, it's just sort of like a safe non-human interaction almost. I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah. It is.
Not that I've ever used AI. I actually never thought about it until I read your Modern Love piece. And I was like, oh, I've never even thought about using that with epilepsy, And there are times like in my post-ictal state when like my depression is like really bad. And I'm like, I don't know how to talk to someone about this. And it's like, here are some ways. And I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. 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 It just offers this like space where, you tell a human something and there's always the risk that they're going to, and I know I for sure have been on the other side of this where I respond in this way, where as humans, we want to fix things, right? Someone comes to you and they're going through something and you're like, okay, let me offer solutions, or let me say the thing that's going to make them feel better, which usually doesn't make the person feel better because they feel like you're not validating their experience. And that's normal for humans. Like, again, we all want to fix things. We want to be there for people. We don't just, sometimes just listening is so hard to do. And that's how I felt, even though the AI was responding, it still felt like it never, it's trained in how to communicate professionally. So it would say things that didn't feel like it wasn't not validating my lived experience or something. And so I think that that's also where I would go to when I had these things these sensitive sort of like heavy things that I either didn't want to put on my husband, or I was nervous if I put it on him, what's his reaction? And then is that just going to, drive me further down the depression hole, or will I get angry? And that's not, I don't know. So there was just so much going through my brain. And yeah, the AI space really, really helped me. And that's where I see the biggest value for anyone.
Well, and it sounds like it's like a processing
Hmm.
space,
It
not
is.
necessarily because it's like, like kind of like the next step to getting to
Hmm.
what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, whether it's communicating with your husband or just
Yep.
figuring out where you feel or what you're trying to figure out.
Yep.
Um, but you also happen to be like an AI expert. Which-
Yeah, I kind of fell into it, if I'm being honest.
That's
Weirdly,
so dope. Like, who falls into that?
well, through this actually, at the time when I was using AI, like no one in organizations, I think, was, again, it's 2022, 2023. No one was really like building it in. No one had policy. No one was saying out loud, like, yeah, use AI or don't use AI. I knew a lot of people
Hmm.
that were kind of using it like under the surface, and dabbling. And that was me. And when I was I did a week-long EEG at the hospital in
Fun.
2023. Yeah, so fun. We all know how great those are. Gives you a lot of time to think. And
Kind of.
so,
Like, did they pull you off
yeah,
your meds?
yes, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
which
So
is
your brain's like just going through
kind of wild.
withdrawal
Yeah,
and like,
yeah,
yeah,
true.
yeah. You're
Fog
not
and
really
yeah,
thinking. I mean, you're thinking, but you're like crazy thinking. Like, you're
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
like this
yes,
fucking, yeah. And it's like, can't get
yes,
out of bed. You might have new energy, but you can't
yeah,
fucking use it.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. But also stay in bed and stay awake and
yeah,
don't fall asleep. And
yes.
like,
Here's some
what?
vodka. We're going to get you drunk. Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what?
yes. That was the most wild experience. Like,
Yeah.
I had a friend that I called and they brought me a bottle. Like, we drank in the hotel room. The nurses were like, "This is the party room." I'm like, and I hadn't drank till then, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy." And of course, that didn't even bring the seizures out. It's like
Yeah.
I was hungover the next day, and I'm like, "Great,
Yeah.
back to
Oh,
this."
nothing like being hungover in a hospital
Oh
room.
my God. But
Yeah.
we did, the neuropsych testing that's
Hmm.
just like they sit you down and ask you to a bazillion things and like memorize this pattern of whatever and drill you, which
Yeah.
I've almost never been through anything as quite as psychologically and mentally taxing as that. And what they found was there's some one of the bigger findings was that when I'm like in a meeting or listening to someone, I sort of drift attention wise, like halfway through what they're talking about, and then I lose the thread.
Hmm.
And there were other findings, but that to me was the bigger one that I was like, I feel like there's a solve for this. And so I started investigating AI note takers for work, because at the time I was in project management. We'd have meetings where you're having to like take notes in a live meeting while contextually like understanding what that person's
Yeah.
saying and being engaged. It's like, this is
Nuts.
not sustainable. Yeah.
Yeah. No, not
How
for
do I
a,
do
a
this anymore?
non-epileptic brain. Like, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Anyone, any human, like
Hmm.
we can't split ourselves like that. And
Right.
so I used my accommodations, asked to go to HR and asked that I trial one of the AI note takers. And it, like the first day that I used it, the level of stress that it took off my plate, even in that meeting, just knowing like, okay, there's a robot here taking notes, capturing all of this, and I can go back if I need to. It was like night and day difference for me in terms of like, again,
Wow.
not even to touch on the productivity aspect, but just the again feeling of like, okay, I don't have to split myself sideways, struggle with my word finding and the brain fog while also trying to take notes and talk to someone and be engaged.
Yeah.
It was huge. And then so I started, I was at the time managing a team of project managers. And so I then got approval to roll it out to them. And then within like a month, the entire company was on this AI note taker. And it was right around that
Everyone's
time that I
like,
think,
thank you, Katie.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, no, it was. And that's sort
life
of
is
what,
easier.
yes, because again, like turns out it's a human thing. It's not just an epileptic brain thing.
Right.
Like
Right. Like,
humans can't do this,
right.
and nor are we supposed to.
Yeah.
So I it was right around that time that I felt like the light bulb went off for me, that I was like, oh, this, if this is what this can do in these settings, I imagine, and AI was moving so fast and still is, that I was like, I can't imagine all the use cases that are going to pop up. And around the same time, we were given a mandate to like weave AI into everything that we're doing. And we were a company at the time of almost 200 people. And I was like, this is going to be mass chaos. And
Yeah.
so I had several, like I told you about the thinking sessions I have with AI where I go and walk and like talk things out loud. I had several sessions where I was like, I feel like there's something here. I feel like there's a role. I really want to be a part of it because of what I had seen as like the positive outcomes in my own life from AI.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to like give that to people. I wanted to be the person that helped like eliminate the pain of work and give people back like the things that only humans can excel at, and like the things that make work fun again, like the strategizing and the thinking. And like, so automate, my thing was like automate the pain and amplify the human,
Oh,
is sort of like
yeah.
my thing that I live off of. And so I, for weeks, brainstormed and wrote up a proposal. And I'll tell you, before AI, I would have never had the courage, for better or for worse, to submit this proposal, because I would have gotten in my own brain about it. But I, of course, now I realize like ChatGPT was probably just telling me what I wanted to hear. Like, you're brilliant, go ahead. So it could have been a hot
You're
mess.
you had a cheerleader being like, "Girl, you got this,"
Yes,
and you're like,
yes,
"Yes, I
yes.
do. Thank you."
Yes, yes. But again, it offered, and had I told anyone about this, and I did when I, eventually, I'll get there, but eventually I submitted it and started talking to people. But as I was doing this, I talked to people who were like, "Are you crazy?" Like would say those kind of reactions, like,
Yeah,
you want that job? Are you nuts? They're not going to go for that. Or things that, again, when I think
sure.
back to previous to having ChatGPT in my corner, I would have gotten in my head and been like, yeah, never mind, never mind. But it was like, then I was able to go back and be like, again, talk through, hey, they're telling me this is crazy. Is this crazy? No, no. And so I got like the courage that I needed,
Yeah.
submitted, and now that's how I find myself here. So I don't have like a background in data science or I have a background in being a human, and I know what the work looks like that can be automated, um, and the strategy that's there. But I don't
That's so
I,
dope.
I'm yeah,
So
I'm no
what, like,
one.
you submit this proposal, what's the response that you get, that you end up getting, aside from the one inside your head and other
Yeah.
colleagues?
uh Enthusiasm, like big time enthusiasm, because I think that they being our leadership team, realized that if there wasn't someone in command of these things, or at
Mm,
least like looking across the organization and sort of like being able to say, okay, connecting all the things and doing the
sure.
change management, which was almost the bigger, harder work, we're not going to get where we need to get or move fast enough. And so they were very, very enthusiastic.
Yeah, and with your background in project management. There we
Yeah.
go. There it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Found the
Yep.
word. Project management, it makes sense. That's
Yeah.
so cool. That's so you created your
Yeah.
own job, right?
I did. I
Yeah,
did. Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Girl, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's so
Yeah.
awesome.
And it's
And
hard,
oh, I
but
bet.
it is stressful and hard. And some days I'm like, what was I thinking? My brain's like, I just want to go to the Bahamas and retire, and here you are like writing up these roles that don't exist. And but I think I will never not be ambitious, and that's just part of my
Yeah.
personality. And
Yeah.
so I see something and I'm like, no one's done it before, and I
Mhm.
get to be kind of the first to cut my teeth. And if I fail, then
Totally.
that's data and I learn from it. But if I succeed, then again, like I get to do the thing which I love, which is like using technology to make our lives easier and to take the load off, of our shoulders as much as possible, so that we can focus on the things that give us joy and not like the building spreadsheets. kind of
Yeah.
crap that sucks the joy out of everything.
There are people who like spreadsheets.
Oh
I am
yeah,
not one
sure.
of
Yep.
them,
Yep.
but I do admire them. But you're right. You're right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I don't want to do that though. I do have to ask, just because there is so much controversy over AI right now.
Hmm.
And what is there like based off of what you know and in your expertise, is there like a responsible way for like the average person like myself to utilize it?
Hmm.
Like without, just given that, we've got environmental concerns, we've got healthcare concerns, there's like concerns out,
Hmm.
going. I can't find the words, obviously, because
Lots of concerns. Yeah.
thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just curious to see, like, if, like, in your opinion, if there's just like a way to, like, just kind of be a responsible person, but also get the benefits that AI
Yeah.
has.
Yeah. I think what I tell people, because I think that sometimes there's a block where we hear artificial intelligence or AI and we think like, oh, I'm not an engineer. Like I'm not going to be able to figure that out. I
That's
think,
literally my reaction. So yeah.
yeah, and it was mine too, right? But because we assume like it sounds, I think that for forever, at least in my brain, I've put myself in the category of non-technical.
Same.
Even
Yep.
though, yeah, so I think it's natural for us to just say like, okay, like I'm not going to touch that AI. Like
Right.
what? No one wants me touching AI. But
Right.
it's more getting in and just, what I tell people is just, if you're curious, get in and use it. Like just, and you don't even have to, everyone has they stress prompting. I think the AI is smart enough now that like you can just talk to it like a human and then see where it goes. And if you find it to be useful for yourself, you can keep leaning in. And if you don't, if you're like, this is trash, or I have moral conflict with this, then don't. But I do think there is, where I think the big unlock is not in like draft an email for me, or I don't know, I can't think of any other, like any sort of content generation. That's not it. It's the thinking partner piece. Like it is the thinking out loud that I think is
Mm-hmm.
the biggest unlock. I also think that humans are naturally resistant to this because we don't know what it looks like. Like it continues to evolve really, really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
The world in general is, I mean, just nutty right now. I don't know how else to say it. Everything's
Yeah.
moving incredibly fast. There's, job loss happening. I don't know if that's, directly attributed to AI, but I think in some instances, like if you read between the lines, it is. But also, we've gone through so many as like a human civilization, so many different incredible
Mm-hmm.
revolutions or changes where we found our place in it and beyond it, that I have full faith that will happen with this. I think also working with AI, you develop an appreciation for how much AI kind of sucks still. So I'll be working with it and it'll just straight up, like the other day, even I was brainstorming on something and it came back with a response that I was like, that's not accurate, like at all. And it's like, oh yeah, I just made that up. And I'm like, okay. So it's like the fear of the unknown, right? I feel like if
Sure.
you get into it and start poking around in it and just chatting with it, or asking it like, hey, this is who I am as a person, what are like the best ways I can utilize you to like make my life more
Mm-hmm.
efficient? Or, I have epilepsy and here are the ways that it affects my life. I'd like to understand how AI can help me sort of make those symptoms less, like the memory and the brain fog, make those less of a hindrance. Like, how can I use you to get through that? And
Yeah.
sometimes it'll come back with some brilliant ideas. but I think it's this fear of the unknown and fear of how this is going to change humans and what our work looks like, because it is. But I have all the faith that we'll figure it out. And I think actually on the other side of it, there might be incredible advancements. Like when I think about the medical stuff and the health stuff, I mean, seeing that it's diagnosing, I just read an article the other day that it's now diagnosing pancreatic cancer like 3 years in advance or something, like far
Wow.
ahead of where it's been.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that I'm super hopeful for. Just like when we talked
Totally.
about the EEG and how archaic that is, I'm like, there's no way that there isn't someone out there right now who's with this technology on the precipice of hopefully figuring something out.
Yeah.
Um, and I do think, as
Absolutely.
much as I like to tell people, it will never replace in terms of the relational piece, or in terms of like the sort of me being able to use it as a sounding board. It will never replace friendship or therapy or
Mm-hmm.
community. It's just
Mm-hmm.
another avenue. It's just another way to sort of process your emotions, but that doesn't mean therefore you don't make time for your friends, or you don't, you know, make time for your family. If, the things that bring you joy outside of AI, like,
Totally.
obviously need to be leaned into. And that's the bigger factor in anything. It just gives you that
Yeah.
space, non-judgmental
Totally.
space, I think.
I love that. I love that. And I think like it is something that we're figuring out, you know, like a lot of things that we've had to figure out when advancements are made. And then we're
Hmm.
like, ah, shit, but there's a lot of downsides. Okay. How do we combat those downsides, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I love your faith in that, that we will figure it out, that we will tackle it.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful. And I love like being able to think of it like as a collaborator. Um,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I guess my question is, because you're such a phenomenal writer, which
Oh,
I don't know
thank
how
you.
you have the time to write.
Thanks.
because for listeners, not only is Katie published New York Times Modern Love, has, and I've mentioned the Substack, which is a voice returned, also memoir in progress, or written, I believe, right? Or is it fully written,
Yes.
called Prompted?
Yes. Nearly.
Um, so how do you have time? How do you do it? My brain, because I love writing and I miss it so
Hmm.
much. It's something that that definitely has gone by the wayside with my epilepsy diagnosis, and then having a career and not being able to have time for it. So
Yeah.
tell me your secrets. Tell me everything. How do you do it?
um, I've always been a writer. I've always processed my thoughts better in writing than I do in speaking. My brain just works that
Mm,
way better.
yeah.
And that was even before the seizures and the medication and the diagnosis. I've just always been that way. I found my mom's brought like, in fact, I think I might have it somewhere here. She brings stuff that she finds like when I was a kid, and my writing is like the kid version of what it is today, like very sort of heavy and dramatic. And so I've always
Nice.
been
Love it.
someone that really enjoys processing my own thoughts and journaling and that kind of thing. But when I was diagnosed and with the medication, I feel like I went inward even more. And so writing became
Mm,
like my safe space for, in addition to, the space of AI and using that as a thought partner, writing became sort of my space where I was able to like get all of my feelings and thoughts and emotion out into the world. And
yeah.
then once the New York Times, when I wrote that essay, never thinking that there was even a shot in the world, when that was published, I realized like, oh, I can maybe do this. Like maybe I can put, again, 100% of it is for myself, and because it makes me feel better is like somebody just getting it out there. It's also flattering that there are people that want to read it. Um,
Because
but
it's fucking good. You are a phenomenal writer.
thank
Like, I
thank
cannot
you.
stress it enough. Phenomenal
Thank
writer.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's an art. And I think that any writer, I feel like, is called, you just have like I have a burning feeling in my gut that's
Yes.
like,
Me
I just
too.
want to express this,
Yeah.
and get it out. And oftentimes it's just like random inspiration. And I'm like, no one probably cares to read about this, but I don't care because it feels great and awesome.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that thought partner piece with ChatGPT and the courage it gives me. I'll have inspiration for something and I'll go to ChatGPT and be like, I want to write about this. Is it crazy? Is it, I'll ask all these different questions, and the confidence it gives me, again, for better or worse, has helped me put it out there and be a little bit, I don't want to say shameless, but, it's like, I don't really give a fuck what people think. I want to say this because it feels good to say it. It feels good to write about it. And guess what? You don't have to read it if you don't like it. Like, but this is my life. And I feel like what I realized too is that any invisible illness, if we can talk about it more and sort of like peel back the curtain of this is what it's like to live in this body, then not for nothing, like if one person reads that and they're like, God, I feel that way every day of my life and I feel seen, because I've felt seen before in other people's writing, and it's just like feels like a big hug most of the time. Like, okay, there's someone else out there that gets it. And
Totally.
because most of the time, like especially with again, any invisible illness, but my own experience with temporal lobe epilepsy, it's like I can look great on the outside. I look like, no one could ever tell what's going on the inside. And so just any opportunity I can have to like peel back that curtain and share it with the world, like I'm going to take it, because I want one person to feel less alone. And I also want maybe like a caregiver to understand more, like, oh, this is what my daughter, my son, and after my, is going through. And after my New York Times piece came out, I got a flood of emails like that. Like, thank you for this writing. You were able to articulate what I go through. Other people that were like using ChatGPT also, that were like, I was so ashamed that I was talking to ChatGPT this way. And now I don't feel that way, because I realized like this is a really powerful tool. And that alone, I was like, all right, I can quit life. Like, I feel like, I not only was I published in the New York Times, but I got published and people are like reading it and getting something from it. They're getting exactly what I wanted them to get, which is you're not alone. This life is hard. And so I
That's
think,
awesome.
and how I find
That's
time,
so awesome.
I don't know how I find time.
That's fair.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And I'm always, my husband says, because I have like 1,000 plants and I write and I work, and I'm just someone, again, like for better or for worse, I'm always going to be ambitious, and I'm always going to break my back and push myself, even though, again, my brain's like, please stop. I'm like, no, I will push you to the limit. And
girl, you lost me with plants. I can't even keep a plant alive, so I can't do that.
Oh, well, just wait until the day that you do, because then all of a sudden you're like, I think my first one was a snake plant, and it was like, those are impossible to kill, by the way. But I was like, oh, look at Mrs. Green Thumb here. Like, I'm gonna get one more plant. And then I got a cast iron plant, kept that alive. Again, it's called cast iron because you literally can't kill it. And then before I knew it, I had 200 plants, because I felt like I have a gift. But also it's just so peaceful. Like, plants don't talk. They don't judge.
They don't.
Like,
they don't.
they don't,
But girl, everyone says like, oh, you can't kill this plant. You can't. And guess who kills it? Me.
You. Yeah.
I've killed succulents. Succulents.
Oh,
I have
succulents.
Like, I can't. I just can't do it. But I do have a question for you about your writing. Do you ever worry that, or maybe this is also like in the whole fuck y'all, whatever you think category, that people might, because of your close relationship with AI, that people might be like, oh, AI wrote this, not Katie. And I just thought of this now. I've never had that thought, by the way. I've never read your writing and thought that, because it's such good writing. But has that ever been, I was like, I wonder if that's ever been a concern of yours.
I think to some degree it always will be, because of
It's the
this
world we're in right
notion.
now.
Yeah, it's the world we're in.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out like how can we be creative in a way that's responsible? How do we use AI in a way that's
Mm,
responsible? I don't know that I've ever really like been worried about it, mainly because of my fuck you anyways, like you don't have to read it, but also
yeah.
because there's, at least when I can spot AI slop so quickly. And for me, because I'm writing from such a personal place, it would take a really long fucking time for me to like tell AI all these details, like for it to write it. But I do use it again, like I said, for like thought partner and critique
Mm-hmm.
and like, does this make sense to tie these things together? And so we have to figure out how to, as a society, like grapple with that. I think that
Yeah.
there's lots of valid concerns. I also think that there's lots of really powerful ways that it can be used to sort of like lower the threshold of access for people who are creative, but might not, again, have the confidence, like who have this in them, but they just are missing that one last piece of somebody validating it. And maybe they don't
Totally.
want to put it in front of an actual human because they're afraid, because humans obviously carry judgment. And it's like, okay, I'm just going to chat with ChatGPT about it and see what it says.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I think it is a big deal. And again, like with all things, I know that we'll figure it out. And
Well, and I also
we have
think it's
to.
like kind of going back to even just reaching out for help with epilepsy. It's like the access to people who understand, right?
Mhm.
It's really hard to find a helpful thought partner. It's also really hard to find someone else with epilepsy who understands your experience. Not
Yes.
that AI does, right?
Mm-mm.
Not that AI, but like it's just kind of one of those things where it's like that crutch, or that, not a crutch, that's the wrong metaphor, but I don't
It,
know. I'll think of a better metaphor.
a tool.
Yeah, yeah. It's the tool. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, two temporal
Two
lobe
heads.
epilepsy
Two
gals.
heads.
Yeah, figuring it out. Yeah, it's the tool that, like,
Yeah.
can serve when you don't have the best thing, which is the person, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I think that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's like when keyboard or when typing came out, people were like, well, shit, like everyone's, people who use keyboards or typewriters are cheating. They're not handwriting things. And it's like, yes, and I don't know. I don't know. I just feel
yeah,
like I see it as another tool. And Lord knows there are people out there being like, write a book about this. And then they're shipping it to Amazon or whatever. I've heard those stories. But for those that can use it responsibly and get that unlock from it as, again, a feedback partner, a thought partner, I do think it's huge. It's been huge for me.
yeah.
And even, like there's a ton of stuff that I write that I never put out there, but it's just helpful to write it, as we all know, journaling. And a lot of times I'm writing that to ChatGPT, and, just getting its thoughts. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's
totally.
helpful.
Totally.
It's,
Well, and it's funny when you said like that you can spot like Chat GPT or AI writing,
mhm.
over it just reminds me of when I was a high school English teacher and I could
Mm,
spot plagiarism very
mhm,
quickly. Like I always
mhm.
heard that and then I was like, but how? And then I would just be like, this is so and so, so and so, so, not them anymore.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's just like
yeah.
very clear.
The
Yeah.
voice, yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah, you
voice
can,
just is like, yeah. Just I'm like, and this is Google.
yeah,
So,
yes, yes. And I think with AI, like there's so much, what I often find is the writing from AI lacks substance. Like when you peel it back, you're like,
totally.
it's using a lot of
100%.
words here. None of it makes sense. Like, what?
Yeah.
What is that? What is that
Right.
metaphor that you just spit out
Right.
that makes no sense
Yeah.
whatsoever? Like,
Yeah.
it's, and
Totally.
to me, that's like a good thing, because again, like we should be using our human brains. Like we should not
Yes.
be
To
having
come up with
AI
something
produced
better.
work.
Yes.
Right. Like
Mhm.
use it as a start.
Yep.
Sometimes it's like you have that brain block where it's like, oh, I can't start on a project because I just can't It's like that one thing that I just need to open the gate and I can't do it. It's like that for me has been huge for my profession, for my personal life, like just having that space where I can be like, I'm just going to get all this slop out of my head, and then you go on a roll. So I do think there's a world where we figure out how to live and work with AI. At least I hope so. Again, because it's been such a personal unlock for me alone. And I think that especially for those of us that have, sometimes not sometimes, all the time, the cognitive processing difficulties, it's almost, I would see it as like necessary. It's becoming necessary. It's if it was taken away from me today, I don't know what I would do, quite honestly, because I've gotten so used to processing my thoughts in that space. So yeah.
Well, I love it, and I love your perspective. I love how you broke into it. Like you're like
I'm like, cool, I love this thing. Yeah, this is wild.
I love how it's in Modern Love and Epilepsy. I mean, girl, it's so dope.
And now you look out there and like there's so many roles of the one that I designed, again, just with
right. I mean,
multiple walks with walk and talks with ChatGPT, like just talking out loud about this wild idea. And I think about all the wild ideas that must exist out there in people's brains and hearts. And it's like, all they need is to feel validated, and of course there's the other end of that too, where it's validating ideas that maybe we don't want validated.
Right.
Like there's that too.
But there's a whole, that's the flip side. We're like still trying to figure that part out, I think. So
all of the unintended consequences. Like one thing I'm battling with now is AI can make people feel like they can create amazing, like build dashboards or create a PowerPoint in a flash. Again, I'm talking about my professional life, but it's junk. But as humans, like I think one thing that will change, and I like to theorize about this stuff. I love human communication. In my background, I have my master's in communication, which is funny because I often have hard time communicating unless it's written. But I'm fascinated with this. I'm fascinated with the human brain. I am neurologically, but also more from like, why do we think the way we do? And what I'm seeing is like output has increased with AI. And my theory is that as humans, we equate our worth or our work with busy or output. Like we're like, oh, I'm going to create a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint and pass that along because in order to look productive, I need to be creating these things. Well, now AI has lowered the bar for people to create, like I said, all these things at work. So we have this mass volume of things being shared that's creating so much noise. And so now it's like, how do we control for that? Again, unintended consequences. And I think at some point we'll have a clearer delineation between let AI handle, again, the painful tasks that none of us want to do, and then we need to lean into like our humanness. And sometimes the human work is the invisible part. It's the strategy. It's and I think as humans, we just there's gonna be a mindset shift to like, it's not just produce, therefore you are valuable. It's going to shift into like this more intellectual space, and making those like human connections that AI can never make. But that is a big unintended consequence I'm up against right now. It's just that it's lowered the bar. Anyone can hop on ChatGPT and be like, let's build whatever in human language. But most of the time that crap is awful, but it looks really shiny and pretty.
Right. But sometimes you're like, I know how you did this.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Katie, thank you so much for being here and joining me. Like, this has been such an amazing conversation. I feel so inspired just to like, I don't know, just do the things that, AI can't do. Have human interactions, but also use it as like a thought partner, like you said. I think that's so wonderful. And I just really appreciate you paving the way for a lot of us in this. And I really appreciate your writing. I cannot wait to see your memoir published. It's going to be awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's like,
I bet.
wow, you're like memoir, like you're putting it all out there. But again, I've just always been the person that's a little bit emo in that way. Is emo still a thing? I don't know, but I've always been
back,
like, welcome to my deep, dark thoughts.
Yeah. Oh, emo, at least in Chicago anyway.
Is it back?
With the youth in Chicago, and I'm like, I love this. It's back.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That is my, like, I have a pure, like, just dark, like lean into your emotions. The thing that drives me crazy is the surface level, like, what are your vacation plans for the summer? I'm like, no, let's talk about the real shit. Like, when was the last time you fought with your husband and what was it about? That kind of stuff. No, let's not talk about that.
Totally. Yeah. When I worked in an office, people learned very quickly not to ask me how I was doing because I would answer very honestly. There was no like, fine, how are you? It was like, well, to be truthful. Like, and they're like, dear God, like, why? We can't ask her how she's doing.
Oh, see, I would love that. We can't work together because I would be like, tell me more.
Oh, we wouldn't get anything done. I was a person who just went around and I wanted to hear everyone's story. I'd be like, so tell me about how your dog Michael is doing today. Like, I just wanted to know everything. So that's why I can't work in an office. So
yes, I've said the same thing. I mean, I've worked from home now for about 10 years and I'm so much more productive at home than I ever was in an office because I could just get stuck in someone's office talking about their kid's birthday party that went awry or whatever. And then all of a sudden we're like talking about their birthday parties from 20 years ago that gave them trauma. Soaking it in.
And I'm like, keep going. What about your grandparents? Like, it's just, I don't stop asking questions. So I can't be in an office because I'm the one who make sure no one gets anything done.
Yes, same. But sometimes those are like the welcome people. You're like, yes, please come in. I don't want to work anyways.
Well, now with AI, I'm like the person they're going to be hiring to come in and be like, we need human interaction. We need you to come in and start talking to people.
All of these people are just...
I'm going to build that job for myself, Katie. Be like, you need human interaction? I can come right in.
I'll make everyone uncomfortable here, but that's okay. That's the point. AI can't. Humans will.
Oh my God, you're the fucking best. Okay. Thank you again. This is so great, and I cannot wait just for all the things that are going to come from your brilliant brain.
Well, and I need to say thank you. I've been a longtime listener of the podcast, and I adore it. And early on in my diagnosis, I, of course, I was on Reddit, on the epilepsy subreddit, and just consuming all of the information I could and looking for podcasts, and found yours and have been a longtime listener. And it just it was one of the first things that made me feel seen. And like we just talked about, if you accomplish anything in life, if there's one person that can be like, I feel seen and validated, that's a big accomplishment. And you've done that with this podcast. So thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah. That's all I want, is for people to not feel alone. Best I can do.
Yeah. So, yeah. And you do a fantastic job.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you. You're the best.
Of course. Thank you. Thanks for having me.